The Cosmere RPG is coming sooner than you think, as we have some huge updates about the Stormlight RPG straight from the Dragonsteel Nexus Con.
Well, we're waiting.
The team behind the record-breaking Cosmere RPG had some huge news to share at Dragonsteel Nexus, but before we dive into what that could mean for one of 2025's biggest TTRPGs, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this channel going, and then, let's talk some Cosmere. In a video wrapping up all their huge news from Dragonsteel Nexus, the team at Brotherwise Games revealed that not only were they still on track for a September release for the Stormlight Archive's Handbook and World Guide, and a release of all their Mistborn RPG content exactly 1 year later, they were actually ahead of schedule, with the Cosmere RPG creative director Johnny O'Neill showing off a hardcover copy of the Stormlight Handbook, which they've already sent to printers. The book, which wound up being nearly 400 pages of lore and rules, could actually be released several weeks before that announced September date at this rate. But for now, the team is leaving those release dates in place. We also got a look at some brand new content and classes for the Stormlight RPG, including the new Warrior Heroic Path, and our first look at the Shardbearer branch and all its amazing abilities they get from the shard plates and shard blade equipment they use. We also got our very first look at the Willshaper Radiant path and the 3 distinctly different paths that class can take, from bonding with a Lightspren, which offers some healing abilities, to the Transportation path, which is all about teleporting and basically doing the Stormlight version of astral projection. We also got a big update on the Stormlight World Guide, which is similarly on track to be done in plenty of time for that September release. And we got to see some amazing new artwork from the world of the Stormlight Archives being shown off for the very first time. The other interesting tidbit is that one of the sections of the Stonewalker's adventure, which launches alongside the World Guide and the Handbook, had to be removed for continuity reasons. The Nightblood section had to come out of the adventure despite it initially being put into the adventure by Brandon Sanderson himself, as it simply didn't line up with the timeline of the Stormlight Archives and where the adventure and these books are actually set within that. But if you're a fan of Nightblood, the awesome Awakened sword from the Stormlight Archive books, the good news is the sword's stats will be included in the other books, it just won't be appearing in the adventure itself anymore. The final massive update was to all the supplemental material for the first wave of the Cosmere RPG. Basically the maps, GM screens, miniatures, cards, and dice that make up a lot of the cool components of the Stormlight Archive RPG. And not only are the dice and miniatures 100% done and already at the factories for production, but the cards, tokens, maps, and GM screens are not far behind at all, with all of them being just a few final design tweaks away from being sent out for production as well. And we should also mention that Brotherwise had some big updates for their Mistborn material as well, including explaining why they chose to set their Mistborn RPG in Era 2, which was because they just thought the higher technology level with the cars and guns and the cool things that were added like the Twinborn and the World Hoppers just made it a more fun and entertaining setting for players. We also got our first look at a couple of classes, with the Gunner, who of course specializes in firearms, making an appearance as a warrior class, as well as the Mastermind, whose abilities are more focused on being a tactical leader on the battlefield as part of the leader class. But maybe the coolest part of the Mistborn content was our first look at Feruchemy, specifically Steel Feruchemy, which basically lets you become a steel runner from the Mistborn books. You get heightened reflexes, superhuman speed and movement, and the bullet time ability, which is, bullet time from the Matrix, but done in the Mistborn setting. All in all, it's a huge amount of new info for the Cosmere RPG, and some incredibly positive updates about a Kickstarter that might actually beat its initial deadline instead of pushing it back like so many have had to do. Fingers crossed that it stays on track for an early release, and we could be ending summer 2025 with the year's biggest new TTRPG already being played on our game tables. So how excited are you for the Cosmere RPG to release? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.